All right, good day, everyone. Welcome to the Storm Lockdown Digital School. This is our life science lesson for grade 11s. My name is Onkarabetse Setswe. My Twitter handle is at onkarabetse_s. Guys, as we are going to start this lesson, I would like us to also please follow African Teen Geeks at Twitter and on Facebook to get more of our lessons, etc. So this is our first lesson, and yeah, we shall just head right on. Okay, so today what we will be focusing on is energy transformations to sustain life. All right, so if we can just refresh our memories, go back to grade 9, grade 10, where we used energy. We learned about kinetic energy, we learned about mechanical energy, different types of energies. For example, kinetic rotational energy in pulleys, but those were innate objects. But right now, we'll be focusing on energy transformation, how we move energy from one source to another in order to sustain life, right? So the biological process that we will be looking into today is photosynthesis, right? But I need you guys to keep in mind energy transformation. All right, energy transformation, because that is basically the core of our lesson today, the core of what we will be discussing. Guys, another thing, if I am going too fast or you not understanding something that I have covered, please use the question and answer section or box and write all your questions down, write all your answers, and also let's be active on our social media using the hashtag lockdown school. All right. Let's continue. Okay, so by the end of this lesson, you should be able to differentiate between autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition. You should be able to define photosynthesis, that is, write down the definition of photosynthesis. You should be able to write down the chemical equation of photosynthesis. You should be able to explain why organisms need energy. And also, you should be able to explain why chlorophyll, radiant energy, H2O, CO2 are necessary to produce glucose during photosynthesis. Okay, so these are our lesson objectives, right? What you need to take home from this lesson. Guys, we are about to start the lesson. Please have your books, pens, highlighters, cookies, whatever stationery that you're using, just get it all together and write down notes as we go and ask questions where you don't understand. All right, so let me just start by explaining something here. We have H2O. This is the molecular formula for water. H2O is water. And then CO2 is carbon dioxide. All right, for those of us who don't know or who are not familiar with these concepts, but H2O is water and CO2 is carbon dioxide. All right, moving right along. So I have a question for you guys. Why do organisms need energy? And in this particular question, I want us to use humans, for example, human beings like you and me. Why do we need energy? I'm just going to give you guys 5-10 seconds to write down the answers on your notebooks, on your notepads, and then you guys will just mark with me as I reveal the answers. Just 10 seconds. Okay, I believe we all good with that. So if you have growth in your answers, then that's correct. Movement, correct. Cell division, very much correct. To maintain constant temperature, yes. And active transport. So organisms need energy to grow, to move, for their cells to divide, and to maintain constant temperature, and for active transport to take place in the organism. But the essential question is, where does this energy come from? Where does this energy that organisms use come from? Or rather, if we put it back to the context of the example that we are using, where does the energy that humans use or have come from? I believe it's a pretty obvious one. It's one that we've all been doing mostly during this lockdown. You know those trips that you take to the kitchen? Where does the energy come from? If you said food, correct. Yes. So the energy that organisms use, or humans in particular, that they use comes from food, the food that we eat. So the food that we eat gives us energy as human beings, right? Okay, so when we look at other organisms like animals, animals also require food. For example, the picture that we have here, we see an animal eating a plant that is its food, right? But where do plants get their food from? And that is also an essential part of today's lesson. We'll be looking at plants, and remember the topic of our day is energy transformations, right, to sustain life. We have established that as human beings, we need food. That food is energy, and honestly, we need it to survive and to live, right? So moving right along, where do plants get their energy from? Where do plants get their food from, if we have to put it in another way? Okay, so here I have a comic strip. I'm not sure if everyone can see it, but I will read it out for everyone. Okay, so it says, "Hey Reggie, what are you eating?" "Tuna sandwich. Want some?" And then the flower responds to Reggie, "No thanks, I get my food from the..." The flower is looking up, and obviously there on the left-hand corner is the sun. And the flower is looking at the sun and is like, no thanks, I get my food from the sun, basically. And then Reggie's saying, "So you eat the sun?" The flower responds, "No, silly, I absorb the light energy together with from the air and from the soil." So the flower leaves Reggie to guess what it uses and what it gets from where, all right? So I'm just gonna put in these, if you guys look at the bottom of your screen, we have the fill in the missing words. We have sun, we have CO2, which is our carbon dioxide, and we have water, right? So we're gonna read the block on the bottom left. Again, it says, "No, silly, I absorb the sunlight, the light energy, sorry, together with," come on, it says carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil. And then the last one says, "I use them all to make my food so I can grow. It's called photosynthesis." And then Reggie responds, "Oh, cool. Can you make me another sandwich then?" All right, let's just move along. Guys, I need you to keep in mind this conversation that was happening between Reggie. I'm really not sure what Reggie is, but I can clearly see that this is a flower. So guys, you can just make up your own name, your own animal or whatever that you may classify Reggie under, but I'll just call him Reggie. Okay, but keep this conversation in mind as we're going through the lesson. Obtaining energy. So organisms can be classified according to how they get their energy. An example is what we have just read on the comic strip. On the comic strip, we had the flower and we had Reggie. They both got their energy from different sources. Reggie was eating a tuna sandwich. The flower looked up to the sun and said, "That is where my energy comes from." So already they're classified differently. So those that obtain, or rather organisms that obtain their energy from the sun, are called autotrophs. Let me just get my highlighter and highlight that for you guys. Autotrophs, all right. And then an example of an autotroph is your plants, algae, and some bacteria, and the flower that we just saw on the comic strip. And then organisms that obtain their energy from the foods they consume are called heterotrophs. Guys, another important thing is definitions, all right? Terminology You should know these: a definition of an autotroph, a definition of a heterotroph. So an example of heterotrophs is animals, fungi, and some bacteria. So a heterotroph, in what we have already used, or what we have seen, is Reggie. Reggie is an autotroph because Reggie is eating a tuna sandwich in order to obtain energy from the tuna sandwich. But the sun, the flower, on the other hand, is looking onto the sun for radiation energy, and it creates its own food. Therefore, it is called an autotroph. So guys, definition of autotroph is important, and definition of a heterotroph is important. As we're going to move on from the slide, we would have completed our first objective, right? Our first study objective of knowing the difference between autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition. Are we all together, guys? Guys, if you're not following or you have questions, please use the question and answer box. The question and answer box. Can I also get an indication of whether we're good? We understand what I've just covered? Okay, so I'll be moving on right now. Okay, let me just get back my laser pointer. Okay, so essential questions to ask throughout this lesson, or even throughout life sciences as a whole, are: what? What are we dealing with? What is it? Why? Why is this thing happening? What are the reasons? Why? You know, just get the why. And where? Where is it taking place? How? How is it happening? And when? When is it happening? So these are essential questions that you need to ask in all biological processes that you deal with in life sciences. Okay. So in this case, the biological process that we will be dealing with is photosynthesis. So we're going to ask the what, the why, the where, the how, and the when. Okay, so guys, I'm just going to play a quick video for us that will just basically revise grade 10 plants. Okay. Ooh, I think we have a technical error. The video is not playing, but don't fret, don't worry, it's okay. I'll just go through it with you guys now. So basically what the video was showing us, it was going back to grade 10 life sciences. Guys, if you remember, in grade 10, we dealt with plant cells, we dealt with animal cells, but obviously right now we are concentrating on plants. Okay, plants are beautiful. They are beautiful organisms, right? So plants have roots. Okay, guys, because now the video is not playing and we need to improvise on speech, I'm really sorry for what's happening right now. Can we all just peek through the window or something? Just look at a tree, a plant, or something like outside. I believe we all have trees outside or somewhere near, but don't go out of the gate. It's locked down, guys. We're studying safely. Okay, so the flower or the tree that you're observing, it has roots. The flower or the tree that you are observing, it has leaves. The flower or the tree that you are now observing, it has a stem. Okay. So we all know that it is just basic knowledge that the roots take out water. They absorb water from the soil, right? So the roots get the water from the soil into the plant using your phloem and your xylem. This was covered in grade 10, if y'all remember. I hope you remember, actually. So your phloem and xylem, those are your transport systems in your plants. All right, cool. And then your stem is, your leaves. Look at your leaves and your stem, basically, yes. So around your leaves and your stem, there is air. there's an atmosphere. And in that atmosphere, we have what we call carbon dioxide. And now because our plants, these plants, they love carbon dioxide, therefore they will take it in, right? They take it in, and we have the sun outside. Today is a beautiful sunny day. The sun is out. So it's a beautiful session to actually explain photosynthesis. Okay, so what the video again was describing or explaining was that we have the stoma, or rather the leaf. It was focusing on the leaf of a plant, taking out the leaf and having a transverse section of a leaf. Do you guys remember it? That cross section of a leaf, which had the phloem, the guard cells, the xylem, the spongy mesophyll, the epidermis, the cuticle, the plastid mesophyll, if I'm not, yes, and the stoma. But our focus is not to go too deep on that, but to look at the most critical parts of the leaf, which structurally makes the leaf good for photosynthesis to take place in it. So the first thing that we look at when we have a cross section of a leaf is the stoma, because the stoma allows for the exchange of gases. This is where diffusion happens, right? Oxygen and carbon dioxide. This is where oxygen and carbon dioxide exit and enter respectively in the leaf using the stoma. That is the opening on the leaf. So when we also look at the leaf, why are leaves important in photosynthesis? So the leaf blade obviously presents a large surface area through which sunlight can be absorbed. Leaves are thin, allowing sunlight to penetrate and reach all cells. The cuticle and epidermal cells are both transparent layers to allow sunlight through the chloroplast. And then the leaf obviously has the stomata, which enables carbon dioxide to diffuse in and oxygen to diffuse out. So that was just in short what the video was explaining. Unfortunately, we don't have the graphics of the video, but we will continue. You guys have the graphics outside your window, the real thing. So yeah, we'll use that as reference. Okay, so what are we dealing with? Today we are dealing with photosynthesis. That is the biological process that we are focusing on today. All right. Remember, another study objective that we had is you should be able to write down the definition of photosynthesis, and it reads as follows. Photosynthesis is an anabolic process by which green plants manufacture their own food using radiant energy. Radiant energy, let me just get my pen to underline. Okay. Radiant energy is energy that comes from the sun. Other textbooks explain radiant energy as sunlight or light energy, or merely just as light energy. That is also okay. So yeah, this is the definition of photosynthesis, an anabolic process. What is an anabolic process? Remember, anabolic process has to do with metabolism. And if we go back to grade 10 again, we dealt with catabolism and anabolism. So when we speak of anabolic, we're speaking of a build up, all right? And when we speak of catabolic, it's breakdown. So basically, it's a set of reactions that occur in cells of living organisms to sustain life. But these chemical reactions are for build-up and not for breakdown. So that is why we say it's anabolic. It is for the build-up, right? Okay, our second point says, energy from the sun is used to convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose. So that is just basically photosynthesis, using the sun to convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose. And what was omitted here was that oxygen is a waste product, a product that the tree or the plant doesn't use. Okay, the other point says there are two stages of photosynthesis, which is your light dependent and your light independent reactions that take place during photosynthesis. We will deal with these later on during the lesson so that you guys might have a greater understanding. But now I'd like to go into detail about photosynthesis, that we understand the concept of photosynthesis. All right. So what we have here in front of us is what we should know. If you want to pass this section of photosynthesis, you need to know these formulas. All right, so the top one is the word equation. That is the word equation of photosynthesis. It's a summary of what's happening in photosynthesis. So now we're just gonna look at this part. These are your reactants. Okay, guys, I think my writing is going to be very weird, but I think you guys get it. Excuse my handwriting. Also, please don't write like me in your tests and your exams, because wow. Okay. So this side of the arrow is our reactants, which is the water and carbon dioxide, right? And then this side of the arrow is our products. Okay, guys, are we still following? Are we still together? Let me just check if we have any questions or answers. Okay, no questions. I believe we're still together. So these are our reactants, and this side of the arrow is our products. So basically, for photosynthesis to take place, we need water. Let me just get my laser back, because yeah, we need water and we need carbon dioxide, right? Those are reactants. And then we also need light. This light, remember, the flower in the comic strip said it gets it from the sun. And we also need chlorophyll and enzymes. If we go back to grade 10 life science taught us that chlorophyll and enzymes are contained in the chloroplast of the leaf. It's already in the leaf, okay? And that is why when we speak of photosynthesis, we speak of photosynthesis happening in plants, in green plants in particular, right? Not just any other plant, but green plants. Plants that have a chloroplast, which contain chlorophyll and enzymes, of course. And then the product thereof is glucose and oxygen. Okay, and here, the bottom rectangle is depicting a chemical equation. You guys need to know both the top and the bottom. Guys, it doesn't change whether the water is written like this or it's written like this, it's still water. The 6 here just indicates that we have 6 molecules of water, okay? And we have 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. Remember, H2O means water, CO2 means carbon dioxide, right? And this is the molecular formula for glucose, which is C6H12O6, okay? And that's oxygen, which is O2. Okay, guys, so as we've, can we just quickly look at the chemical equation again? I just want to explain something here. The molecules need to be balanced on either side. What you use needs to be equated to what goes out. And a typical example, let's just move away from photosynthesis a bit, and let's use baking as an example. When we bake a cake, we have certain ingredients. We have flour, we have baking powder, we have cocoa, we have all those ingredients. But let's just stick to 3. We have flour, water, milk, and cocoa. Okay, those 4 ingredients will be our reactants. So those 4 ingredients are going to go through a process and give us a product which will be our chocolate cake. The ingredients will not disappear, guys. They will still be in the cake. The flour, the water, the cocoa, everything will still be in the cake. So even in science, that what you put in should be what you get out. It should be equal. So for photosynthesis, we need 6 molecules of water. We need 6 molecules of carbon dioxide. Every hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon, they need to be equal both on the reactants and on the product side. So here, for example, we have 6 times 12. 6 times 2 is 12, right? Which means that there is 12 atoms of hydrogen on the reactant side. And when we move to the product side, we have 12 hydrogens. So they need to be balanced out. And again, guys, this is just a way to make it easier for you to grasp the concept, to grasp even the molecular formula for glucose, because I believe that some of us are not familiar with this molecular formula for glucose. All right, so we have 6 molecules of water, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, which in turn gives us glucose, okay guys, just hold on, I'm not quite sure what's happening. Okay guys, I just got a bit disconnected there. Sorry for that, but we can continue. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Wow, okay. Yes, I think this is what was on the screen before everything disappeared again. Right. I think we are done with this slide. As I said, this is very important. Remember, on our study objectives, we mentioned be able to write down the word equation for photosynthesis and be able to write down the chemical equation for photosynthesis. So the bottom rectangle is the chemical equation for photosynthesis. Right, now we're getting to the interesting parts of this. Where does photosynthesis take place? Photosynthesis occurs in the chloroplast of green plants. Guys, we need our knowledge from grade 10. Remember when we were doing plant cells versus animal cells? One of the things that we would distinguish a plant cell from an animal cell was the chloroplast, because animals don't have chloroplast. Therefore, that is why animals do not photosynthesize. Youth. All right. So this is a cross section of a chloroplast. Let me just get my laser again. Okay, right. So this is a cross section of a chloroplast. Okay, the chloroplast is found in the leaf. Okay, in the leaf, not in the root, not in the stem, in the leaf of a plant. That is where we get our chloroplast. And then in the chloroplast, we have a double membrane. As you guys can see, we have the outer one here, and then we have the inner one. We have the stroma, which is, you could say, the vacant space of the chloroplast. We have your starch granule. Usually in diagrams, it's not colored in. So in order for you to be able to recognize the starch grain, you will find it as just a circle or an oval, which is not colored in, okay? And then we have your integral lamella. We have the granium, and then one is grana. And we have the ribosome, okay? So we'll be mentioning the uses of each, or the roles that each of these things play in this organelle called the chloroplast. Okay, so firstly, the double membrane allows water and carbon dioxide to enter easily. We say it is permeable to water and carbon dioxide. Then the grana contains chlorophyll. The grana, they contain chlorophyll to trap sunlight. Okay? Remember, it's many granium and one grana. All right, let's continue. And then the grana, they are made up of thin flat discs called lamella that present a large surface area for absorption of sunlight. And then the stroma, which is your white space, the stroma contains enzymes for the reaction of the dark phase. Remember, we said that photosynthesis has two phases, né? It is your light independent and your light dependent. Né? So the stroma is used in the dark phase, which is light independent, obviously. And then the ribosomes in the stroma, there's the ribosome. The ribosomes in the stroma synthesize enzymes for photosynthesis. And then starch granules, our starch granule here, are present to temporarily store the starch that is produced. Mark that word, temporarily store temporarily store the starch that is produced, okay? Or the sugar that is produced, which is glucose. Okay, so you guys can write that down. These are the functions of the labels on our organism. Guys, please tell me if I am going too fast and if there is something that you don't understand. Also, guys, while we add this cross-section of the chloroplast, I'd like to just remind you guys that in life science, when we draw structures, if you come across a question and they ask you to draw, guys, make it big enough for the marker to see what you have drawn, all right? Make it big enough, and also do not let your labels, your arrows, intersect one another. Make a line on the right-hand side of the margin, right, on the right-hand side of your structure, and let all your arrows be straight, not one across the other, crossing the other one, interjunction and whatnot. Just make everything should be neat, okay, guys, because you get marks for that. So just remember that. All right, I think we are done now with these. So these basically are the functions of each of the components that are found in the organelle called the chloroplast. Okay? So the starch grain, it contains it stores glucose. The lamella contains chlorophyll. Guys, again, do not confuse chlorophyll with chloroplast. Chlorophyll is found in the chloroplast. Okay, chlorophyll is the pigment that makes the leaf green, all right? And it allows for the sunlight to enter the leaf. That is chlorophyll. Chloroplast is an organelle found in the leaf. Okay, guys. Okay, let's move on. So why does photosynthesis take place? Why does it take place? For what use? Right. So the glucose that is produced during photosynthesis will later be used during cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is something that we will cover as we go through with our lessons throughout the week or probably next week. So yeah, we will be talking about cellular respirations in a few days to come. So the glucose produced during photosynthesis will later be used during cellular respiration for activities of the cell. And then photosynthesis reduces the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Remember, the reactant of photosynthesis is carbon dioxide and water. Okay. The other point is that it increases the amount of oxygen in the atmosphere. Again, oxygen is a product of photosynthesis because it is released during photosynthesis. And then again, photosynthesis is good for the provision of food and energy. Okay. Let me just quickly go back. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, yeah, provision of food and energy. Why provision of food and energy? Guys, if you eat lettuce, for example, your greens, they have energy, okay? Because there's glucose in there. And when glucose gets broken down, we can in turn get energy. So I just wanted to elaborate on that. Okay, when does photosynthesis take place? So if you want to answer this question of when, you need to ask yourself, firstly, is water available? Is carbon dioxide available? Do we have chlorophyll? And in order for us to have chlorophyll, what do we need? We need a chloroplast. And where is this chloroplast found? In leaves of green plants. Okay. And we need radiant energy. Where do we get radiant energy from? The sun. We need enzymes. Where are enzymes found? Enzymes are found in the leaf. Or rather, sorry, enzymes are found in the stroma. I'm sorry, stroma. Because when we say the leaf, that is just too broad, and yeah. Enzymes are found in the stroma. So if your answer is yes, 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 yes to all these questions, that is when photosynthesis takes place. Okay, let's move along. So how does it take place? Well, you'll first need the answers of what am I talking about and what is it? Where is it taking place and why? And then you can in turn explain how it takes place. Okay, guys, so remember at the what question, we spoke about photosynthesis having two stages, which was the light independent and the light dependent. Boom. Okay, guys, let's just relax. It's not that deep, actually. Wow. Okay, let me just try to move something here so that I can be able to, all right, okay. That's good. Let me get my highlighters. I think, guys, we have 10 minutes left. So, or 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 minutes left. So I'll just quickly go through this. Not quickly, but like thoroughly. And then we'll continue tomorrow with questions, or I'll give them for homework. Yeah. So in this structure, in this diagram, flow diagram, we still have our, let me just use a different color highlight. We still have sunlight energy, we still have carbon dioxide. These are reactants, guys. Okay, no, sunlight energy is not a reactant, but it helps. So carbon dioxide gas is a reactant, water is a reactant, right? So we're talking about light dependent and light independent. Let's look at the light phase. Firstly, the light dependent, it takes place in the grana, right? You guys remember on our structure, the grana, it was those packed lamellars. You remember it? Let me just quickly go back. There. Oh, sorry. That is your grana. Okay, that is where the light dependent phase of photosynthesis takes place. All right, please. So why is it called the light dependent phase? Firstly, because, let me just get a different, just use the pen. Firstly, because we have what we call chlorophyll, all right? And we have our reactant here, which is moved to the grana, obviously through your phloem and xylem from the soil, and it puts water, and we have water in the grana. Eventually we have water in the grana. Okay, there's our water. So that is a phase that takes place in the grana, and then oxygen gas is released. There we have our oxygen gas being released. So while this process is taking place here, while this reactions are taking place here, ATP is released. Guys, I will explain ATP in our next lesson, because I think, yeah, then we'll have time. And then energy-rich bond hydrogen atoms are also released just through this reaction that was taking place in the grana. Then this ATP is released into the stroma. Remember, the stroma is that open white space in the chloroplast. These things are released there. So in the stroma, we have ATP and we have energy-rich hydrogen atoms. So we have hydrogen atoms, in short. We have hydrogen atoms in the stroma. And then what happens? Carbon dioxide gas enters the chloroplast and it stays in the stroma, all right? As it stays in the stroma, this is what we call the light independent, because it does not need light energy to take place. This is the part of photosynthesis which does not need light to take place. Okay, so we have ATP and we have hydrogen atoms. These mix, they combine there in the stroma with the carbon dioxide and the hydrogen atoms. They react together and they give you glucose. I think I should highlight that. I probably got a weird color. Okay, they give us, oh, it's not a highlighter, but anyway, they give us glucose. Okay, remember glucose and oxygen, those are our products in photosynthesis. And then the glucose, remember guys, on the previous slide, we spoke about a starch grain. So this glucose is stored as starch, or is used in cellular respiration. Like I said, cellular respiration, we will talk about it a bit later throughout our lessons. In our lessons to come, we will deal with cellular respiration. So for now, don't worry yourself about cellular respiration. But ATP is important. So guys, we have 2 minutes left. But yeah, basically this is the diagram which shows your light dependent and your light independent phases of photosynthesis. Easy, nothing difficult. It's not a bomb. It's not even confusing. It's just showing you the different parts or steps and sections where and how photosynthesis takes place. how. Okay, so in this slide, it just basically explains ATP, and because we do not have enough time, I think I will just go through it with you guys tomorrow again, same time, same place. Guys, please share the link. Please invite all your other friends. Tell their friends to invite their friends and their friends to invite their friends, so that, guys, we can continue learning and learning together. Right, so tomorrow we'll start off at ATP as energy carriers in cells, and we'll explain ATP in full and in totality. So I hope you guys understand what photosynthesis is, how it works, what it needs, where it takes place, and why it takes place. Simple, right? And we can also differentiate between autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition. So those are your takeaway messages for today, because we're not done with the lesson, but we will continue tomorrow again, guys. Thank you very much for being here and for tuning in. Remember, guys, to follow African Teen Geeks on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll see you guys again tomorrow. Bye-bye.